Okay, guess what, guys? Another quarter, another Google Core algorithm update. Let's get into it. So this is the official name is Google's June 2025 core algorithm update, even though it started on June 30th and went all the way until July 17th. I was actually looking for information when I was researching this video. I actually went and was searching for Google's July 2025 core algorithm update, and Google apparently was like, nope, we started this in June, even though the vast majority of it took place in July. It's called the June 2025 core algorithm update, even though gosh, it's almost August now. So let's get into it. Changes in rankings, right? This happens every time we have URLs that were doing really well that are suddenly not doing as well, and vice versa. For the most part, the URLs that were ranking in the top 3 positions on Google managed to maintain those positions. Obviously, there are some exceptions, there always are, but for the most part, websites that were in those top 3 positions were fairly safe. Um, the top 5 to 10 positions, not as safe, not as much volatility as we've seen in previous updates, but some pretty big changes. So after the rollout was finished, the 16% of the URLs in the coveted top 10 positions, that's really what you're aiming for. There, we all, I think, have heard the joke is that if you're not on the first page of Google, you might as well not exist. And now it's not really a page because you can just keep scrolling. So, but it's that top 10 positions. That's what people are looking at. Certainly top 3, and most people don't even go past the top 3 or the top 5. So top 10 is great. You really want to get to the tippy top though, because a lot of people don't scroll past that. Um, but after this update, 16% of the URLs in those top positions had not ranked even in the top 20 positions prior to the update, which I think is fascinating. So we saw quite a few URLs move up in the rankings. They must have adjusted their SEO strategy and really got great results because of that, which I think is great. And I know 16% does not sound like a lot, but it is 1 in 6. So that means 1 in 6 of the URLs in the top 20 positions across all searches, all keywords, we're on page 3 of Google, right? And now they're at the top, the very not the very top, but they are in those, like I said, coveted top 10 positions. So I think that is fascinating. So like I said, 16% might not seem like a lot, but it is significantly higher than the March 2025 core algorithm update, which is the previous update that we had, which was one of the most volatile core algorithm updates on record. And it's a bigger jump than SEMrush has measured in the 4 years that they've been tracking this. So that's really fascinating. So what? Why do we care? Why do we care that there's been a change in rankings? I love a good underdog story. We all do, right? Who doesn't love a good underdog story? Who doesn't love seeing that someone who is on page 3 of Google suddenly jumped to the first page of Google because they worked hard and they did everything right and they were rewarded with high search rankings. And again, it's not news to know that those, if you are on the first page of Google, that's not necessarily, you're not safe. You're not like across the finish line and you've made it and now you can just rest on your laurels. You need to consistently be creating that quality content that answers people's questions, doing everything that Google likes, or you could lose your position. So it's, someone's bad news is someone else's success story in this case, because there are only so many high ranking search positions, right? So who won and who lost? Shopify, I think, is interesting. Shopify was a clear winner, gained a lot of traction over this throughout the country, throughout all countries. So not just the United States, but really around the world. Shopify gained traction. Just every website in general on Shopify went up in the search rankings, which I think is really interesting that domain, for whatever reason, is suddenly more well respected by Google for whatever reason. What I loved seeing is that the e-commerce sites, so all e-commerce sites did really well. Macy's site did really well. Macy's blog did especially well. So I love seeing this because we all, I mean, if you seen any of my videos or read any of my blog posts, you know I'm all about the informational content. Give people answers to the questions they're asking, and the rest will, I mean, it's not quite the rest will follow. You got to set up your funnel and your calls to action and set it up for success. But the heart of it, the starting point is always that informational content. And now with the rise of ChatGPT being used as a search engine, we've got Claude, we've got Google's AI overviews, which I'll get to in a minute. Now it seems like more and more of those informational, those pieces of content aren't getting clicks. People are looking for that information. They're engaging with it on a search, on a chat bot. They're not clicking through. So it's really made all of us in this industry question, does that strategy still work? Well, at least according to this latest result, yeah, actually, it does still work, at least for now. We still might want to think about adjusting our strategy just in case things continue in the trend, in the direction that they're going currently, just because, again, this is Google. And yes, Google is still the dominant search engine. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But we are starting to see a shift toward using things like ChatGPT for as a search engine, even though it wasn't built as a search engine. So that kind of drives me crazy, but whatever. People are going to do what they're going to do, right? So, informational content, not dead. Go figure. Next up, like I said, AI overviews. Google's AI overviews are still new. They just rolled them out earlier this year, but as the company has gained more confidence in their AI's capabilities, they were kind of like testing the waters, putting it out there for a few searches, seeing what happens, made some hilarious mistakes, which we all enjoy, right? Don't we love seeing the big tech companies get it hilariously wrong? Always good for memes and whatnot. But they've been getting better. They've learned from their mistakes. They've adjusted and they've gotten more confident. So they've been rolling out AI overviews for more and more searches. And they are primarily informational searches, which is why I do hesitate to tell anyone to go all in on informational content just because we don't know where that's going to go. So if you're not familiar with AI overviews, it's kind of the next iteration of Google's featured snippet, right? It used to be Google at the very top would have kind of a box with a text preview of what's in that website, and you could click through, and that featured snippet was coveted because it got so many clicks. Well, now we have AI overviews, but people are not clicking through on average. I mean, it's not like no one clicks through, but most people, most searches that show up in an AI overview don't get clicks. So on the one hand, yay, more visibility and higher search rankings. On the other hand, fewer clicks. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. What Google's AI overview does is it takes kind of the top three ranking sites and for any search and just kind of summarizes what they're saying and goes, here you go. So you can kind of browse through what AI, what the AI overview gives you. Or you can do that and then also click through to one of the websites because it shows you right next to the summary, here are the sites we pulled this from, which I love that Google's AI overviews do that because then you can check its work, right? With ChatGPT, you can't check its work. And that's another reason that I hate that people use it as a search engine. Where is this information coming from? Do you know? So we are seeing more and more searches generate AI overviews. Before the rollout, the update finished rolling out, it was about 10% of all searches. And then immediately after the update, it was 20% of all searches generated an AI overview. And then it dropped down to 15%, kind of a middle point there. So last I checked, it appears to be holding steady at about 15%. So that's where we're at. I would not be surprised if that number continues to go up, even especially between core updates. So keep an eye on those AI overviews. Punished URLs, like I said, there were some winners and losers, and there were specifically URLs that were punished way back in 2023. And I do want to have a caveat on punished because Google doesn't like that word. Google says we don't punish anyone for not following our rules. We just don't give them the high search rankings that drive traffic to their website to drive business for their company. That's not punishing anyone. Yeah, okay, semantics. So punished URLs that saw a significant drop in rankings after the September 2023 helpful content update. Gained traction again, and they are back up in the search rankings. It took them almost 2 years, right? That's why it feels like a punishment, right? You were basically in Google's jail for 2 years, and now you've been released. So I think that's really encouraging because, again, we don't normally see that. We've seen people lose their businesses literally overnight after a Google core update when their traffic just tanks. So I have not seen what specific websites got a boost out of this. My guess would be, and I know there's been some talk about whether or not the helpful content update was actually like what that update actually was, or was the name just kind of a nothing burger. So, but if websites lost traffic and then started creating more helpful content and now they're ranking highly in searches, I think that shows that maybe there was something to that update. And I'm so glad that those websites, again, I haven't seen any of the sites specifically, but my guess would be that they stopped investing in the thin, link heavy content and started investing in that rich, deep, authoritative content that actually answers people's questions. So love it. Like I said, I love a good underdog story. I love a comeback. Everyone loves a comeback, right? So what to do if you lost rankings? You, let's say, hypothetically, were one of the unlucky ones whose website dropped in rankings after this latest core algorithm update. What do? How do you bounce back? Google has some tips, but it's the same tips that they always give us. They always say, just create really helpful content that actually answers people's questions. Don't worry about backlinks. Don't worry about these other things. Just create really great content, right? And okay. So I am always for that because I really do believe, especially after seeing some websites manage to come back after that 2023 core update, the helpful content update. I really do believe that creating really good content for humans is just better. There's getting people to your website, which is the SEO, and then there's actually engaging and converting them. And if the content is thin and written for robots, you're not going to engage or convert those people. So write for humans first. Know your audience, know your target audience, write content that answers their questions. And yes, you have to follow the rules. Yes, you have to make sure you have a good page experience and everything is done on the back end so that Google understands, Google can read your content, all that stuff. You do have to do that stuff, but the heart of a good SEO strategy is always the content. So that is it. That is everything that I have for you today. So if you have any other questions on this, if you want to, you can always, if you need help on this, if you need help on creating content, please let me know. You can always leave me a comment here on the YouTubes, or you can reach me you can check out my website, which has all my services and a whole lot more information on SEO and content and all the stuff. That is AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. You can find me at avwritingservices.com, and you can reach me directly via email at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.